All right, so I'm going to start out with my light value colors. And all my colors will be up here, but sometimes it's hard for me to answer what color I'm using because I'm in the middle of the zone. But I'll tell you that is quinacridone nickel azo gold. And see the core, I didn't bring my palette tonight for some reason, but the core is just like that, Leonard. It doesn't, same exact color. You can't tell when you do a swatch the difference. And that's what I love about it. So I'll start out with this nice wash, and this is what I love. This is why I will always be a watercolorist. No matter what I do, I'm going to love that. Isn't that pretty? Mm-hmm. How many of you guys just want to stop when you do one like that? You know? But you can't. And I don't know if I'm going to get to the end of this or not. I did bring my blow dryer, but I hate using it. Are we having a break or anything? Do I need to know, or do I just keep painting until you tell me to stop?
No break.
No break, okay.
I go to bed at 10 o'clock.
You're going to buy me dinner tonight because you want a bunch of money.
Like hell I will.
We haven't celebrated our birthdays. I always think of Leonard no matter where I am, I always think of Leonard because his birthday is on the same day as mine.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Aren't you lucky?
Which,
Aren't you lucky?
yeah. No, you are.
You were born on such a great day.
I know. So now I did this nice juicy wet thing. Now I gotta let it dry. What am I gonna do?
I like it already.
Thank you. I'll try to hurry it along. So I just like to do a nice wet first wash. And I'll talk to you a little bit about this real quick while we're letting that dry. This technique is a technique where, so you're getting a bonus. I'm going to give you more. So when I'm pulled out a few of my favorites. So I started doing gel press printing a while back, and I love it. I love it. And I didn't think I would. I hated printing in college. I didn't last but 2 seconds in that class because, you know, of one thing, registration marks. No, I don't like them. Yeah, it was like the four. Get him out of here. You probably. He's laughing because he knows how I am. Roger would have loved them, but I didn't like that. This is loosey-goosey. I move it around, and these are some of my stencils that I love to use, and inspired by shapes that are on my in my front yard, some of them. And these are how these start out. Grace, the painting of the girl in the wedding veil, started like that. And I have a new stencil that has words on it. I finally talked Mary Beth into using it. Some things she loves and some things that I love she doesn't love. This is just on a piece of paper. There's a stink bug on there. They're all over my studio. Never kill them.
No.
Gosh. That's why there's so many of them. So these are my overlarge. These are, oh, I love these. These are newer. They've taken some of my other ones and gotten them big. So I can do them. And this is one that I used on there. So I start out with a background that is collaged on a piece of paper, or that was on 140 cold press. And I'm trying to find one. Here's a piece. This is one of these. This is tissue. You see through it. And I print on these with golden open acrylics on the gel press. Has anybody ever done a gel press? You should try. It's fun. It teaches you a lot about design too. And anyway, and so I had these mounds of papers. So now I've got them on. I've got more stuff down there in the bag, but I use them for everything. And in my studio, I call it the eyes lighting across the room, you know, kind of an effect. And I had these piles. That's how it all started. I wish I had this really cool story to tell you, but it was one of those. I saw them sitting there, and I'm like, I got to do something with those. And so I just started messing around, and next thing you know, I just, what if, my two favorite words in this world, what if? It got me into all my mischief when I was growing up, and it's what serves me well today. What if I just collaged that on a piece? What could I do with that? And what if I put a really tight, realistic painting on top? So that's how that started. That's really it. My eyes lit across the room and I saw them. So you should have a little bit of a messy studio. Not as messy as mine gets sometimes, but a little messy. And so that's how that all got started. Does that make sense? So I love tissue paper. I love it. And there's, what you're learning in this is a very important principle of design, or I call it, you could call it lost and found edges. It teaches you about how line and all this stuff can move. It can move through a painting. If you pick out the right one and you use it, and the simpler the better, and the simpler the subject. Notice I just have a face. I don't have a whole bunch of stuff going on like a group of people at the county fair. That would be way too busy. I mean, you could do it, but it would get complicated. So I tend to work in very simple, single florals, things like that. So anyway, all right. I don't think I stalled long enough, but I'll just tap it on here. It does tend to dry really quick on the aqua board, but when you put the matte medium on it, maybe not as well. I should have plugged my blow dryer in. So when it's yeah, I do have it, but I don't want to waste time. Oh, I even brought an extension cord.
I can take it in another room.
I'm sure there's
Yeah, it's up to you. I might just. Do you have a plug right there?
I couldn't tell you.
I would have worked on something else, but
Yeah, there is one.
is it easy to?
I'll let you know in a minute.
Don't hurt yourself. Trying to get to it.
Don't fall over the table, Rosie.
Yeah. It won't take very long to dry this. I would have started something else, but I want to finish this. That's just me. I brought this one to work on for the next stage.
All right, see if it works.
All right. Thank you. It won't take very long to do this. That's a bad thing with styrofoam. You know, I know you're thinking, oh no. It's like the front row seat at SeaWorld. We're in the splash area. All right, that's all it takes. It dries really quick on that super matte medium. Okay. So the next is you're going to get darker. All right. I do usually sit down for this because I'm getting more detailed, okay? I got to put my glasses on. Is there any questions while I'm doing this? I like when you have questions.
I have a question. When you're doing gel pressing with acrylics, do you have any tips for managing cleanup as you go, or just using stencils? And that's I love doing it, but I hate cleaning it up.
Well, I'm not sure what part. Are you talking about the stencils? I protect those with my life. So
Yeah.
I can give you a tip on that. You just have you a vat. I actually brought that. That one's kind of a good size to travel with, but I have a bigger one. It's just right there. Don't pick it up. It's heavy.
What?
That right there. I just have one of these little boxes or plastic things or one of those tubs that go under the bed.
Yeah.
I have bigger ones, that, like a tub that, those plastic storage bins that you can put underneath the bed that are a little, not, and I just have them, and I have an old towel, which I left out in my car, but, and I use that, and I just stick them because I'm in the zone. So I just stick them in there so that they don't dry. But one of my friends, Jacqueline Sullivan, she just keeps using them. She never,
Yeah, some people don't clean them.
no. I don't know what I was thinking with that. But anyway, yeah. Yeah, I don't know if that helps.
It does, thank you.
And then with the plate, you just rinse it off.
Right.
And some people don't even rinse it off. And tissue paper grabs, and I started by using that as a cleanup. It takes up all the, so when I'm done printing, there's not much on there.
Yeah, the stencils was what I was really.
Stencils. I protect those because, I don't know. Jacqueline gets by, but she always wants me to print her off some new more, and I'm like, no, because you're not taking care of those. But I can't say anything. Because she promotes my stencils in her classes, and
Yeah, you better be good to
I know I am. But I do fuss at her. Like, all you have to do is bring a tub. But I don't mind. I print them on my Silhouette Cami die cut machine. Just a little bit about stencils while I'm painting. And they are, that's how I first started. I wanted to get shapes. So it started with a painting I called Dreaming. And it's a painting of Grace, my daughter, when she was young. And there's water superimposed on top. Some of you may have seen it. I think it maybe 2008. I can't remember what year I painted it, but it kind of started me down this whole path. And I'm a big fan of Chuck Close. Karen Benedetti made me aware of him. I must have slept through him when they were going over him in art history, because I love the. Is anybody not familiar, or is familiar with Chuck Close? Does anybody know who he is? Oh, look him up. He's neat. He's started out doing hyper-realistic paintings. He's hanging in the MoMA. And what's that? I thought somebody had a question. He's hanging in the MoMA, Museum of Modern Art. And I've been in New York City twice, and I have never get over to the MoMA, and I want to see one of his pieces up close. But they're as big as this I mean, they're even bigger than the ceiling. I mean, they're massive, and they're hyper realistic. And I think he has this disease, and I can't remember what the name of it is. And halfway through his career, he became a paraplegic. I think it's he can move his from the neck up.
Yeah.
And and he what's that?
That's a quadriplegic. Yeah,
Quad- There you go. What did I say? I don't even know what that is. Anyway, and he's an artist, and he couldn't move anything because of this disease he has. And he was doing this amazing work. He was very well known. So it wasn't somebody that's doing painting for a hobby. He was really doing a lot of really cool things, and then this disease happens. And most people wouldn't. What would you do? I mean, he turned around and made a thing. If you Google him, look up some of the videos, and especially the one they did an interview years ago when Mike Wallace, I think he's passed away. He interviewed him, so it was a while back. But you get to see inside of his studio, and he's got this device where he can spin. It's on the wall, and then it goes 360, and he paints with this mouth.
Wow.
Anyway, his work, what intrigues me about it is that when you get up close, you see one thing, and when you get back, you see something else. And so today, he uses these little bitty squares, millions of them. And when you get up close, all you see is a square, and it'll have a kind of an organic shape, sort of like a circle, and then it'll be another color, and then a color on top of that. If you Google him, it'll make sense. What I like is that there's layers of understanding, layers of telling the story, layers. That's what I'm intrigued with. And I don't know, his was maybe done out of desperation, I don't know, but that's what I like about his work. Because there are millions and millions of these little bitty shapes, and you stand back and they're a glorious portrait. And I just think that's really neat.
Do you remember Jennifer's friend that was a
Mm-hmm.
She died about a year ago.
Heather. Oh, sad. Did she leave this world as happy as she was?
I think she was relieved. She was ready to go. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, that was a weird question asked. I just found her to be a very positive person that had every reason not to be. I just think she was, I don't know, that was kind of her mission. So some of these colors I may lift up later in the light areas, and I can do that through the magic of rubbing alcohol. Yeah. So when you work on any surface and put matte medium on it, gesso necessarily, because gesso is a little more porous. It will lift up, but not to the same degree as matte medium. And it will, so you put matte medium on a piece of watercolor paper, and I'll run over there and get it. Just remind me, I've got a painting in my book, in my thing, that's got matte medium on it, just matte medium. And I like to take the back of my brush before the matte medium dries and write or make shapes, and it'll give these little valleys. And there's an artist that came and juried the it was Ohio Watercolor Society years ago. Oh, what's her name? I'm a big fan of her work. Can't think. And she had a talk at Middletown. Does anybody remember? I can't give you any more information. She used a mixture of gesso and matte medium. That's what she does. I can see her work. It's birds. Oh, gosh. It'll come to me later. She's like National Watercolor Society, like very well known. You'll maybe know her if I said her name, but...
Pat Dews.
No, not Pat Dews. Oh, shoot. I love her work. But, so I'm just going in here. I'm thinking about my dad's hands, though. Have you ever noticed when you're painting something, especially if it's a portrait, you think of somebody, the person that's in this painting? I think it's like a prayer. I think that's all a prayer is, right? It's like when you think of someone and you I don't know. It's a type of prayer. Is it not? Kinda. Anyway.
It's spiritual.
What's that?
It's spiritual.
Yeah. And so I'll do these commissions, and invariably I'll get someone that has lost their child. And I'm doing a painting like with words and everything, and heavy. And I'm thinking of that, and I've never met them. And I like that about what I do. Right now I'm thinking about my sister-in-law's oddly shaped thumb, because I'm painting it, and she's very embarrassed of it, because she bit her fingernails too much when she was, and so it's flat on the bottom. And I could have left it off, but no, I had to include it, because I think it's unique. Anyway, so I'm going to go in here. My dad's hands are what I'm really thinking about. And he's got, especially when he was in there, he got poked and got prodded and veins rolled and all this other stuff. And, you know, I'm thinking of that it's not going to be a pretty hand. I know that, you know, because it has, he's on blood thinners, so he's got, yeah, he's got a lot of bruised areas. So I'm putting in a little bit of complementary colors in here, just here and there. I'll talk a little bit about that. I can't believe you haven't asked me. I told you not to, didn't I? That's probably why. You can ask. I'm putting in, I like ultramarine violet. It's one of my new additions to my palette. And it mixes and creates a nice in-between neutral. I usually don't like to put my neutrals in this soon. I'll usually do the first 2 layers and they'll be pretty much straight up color and not mix them with their complementary color because I want that pure color. But I'm trying to move this along a little quicker, which might be a mistake, but that's okay. I'll act like it isn't. You'll never know. But ultramarine blue or ultramarine violet is a beautiful color. It mixes, it's not a perfect complement, but it mixes with quinacridone nickel azo gold really nice to give kind of a bruised skin kind of a look, which is really what his skin looks like at this point after being poked and prodded and all that other stuff. But usually I'll just get my, so I'm using a combo for the skin tone of quinacridone magenta, quinacridone nickel azo gold, and quinacridone burnt orange. And burnt orange is one of my favorite. Has anybody heard that golden is not going to have a few colors that are really, really, yeah.
Burnt orange.
Burnt orange is one, and then I think anthraquinone blue.
Yeah.
I think Jacqueline said that. It's not permanently discontinued, but so Jacqueline and I spent one whole play date recently trying to come up with a color to make that, and I kept saying it has to be like I was thinking it was some sort of a alizarin mixed with an orange. Turns out it's these 2 colors. That's the closest we got, magenta and nickel azo gold.
Really?
Yeah, it was a big surprise. We spent the whole play session doing that. I said that's what we do, but it was very interesting. So just if you fall in love, quinacridone burnt orange and anthraquinone blue are my go-to for a quick, sharp neutral. So I'll try to get to a place up in here. I'm playing around, and I'm just moving this color around of that combo, and then adding a complement every once in a while. And this isn't a perfect complement. If I wanted to really gray it down, I would put the anthraquinone blue in here. This gives it a subtle complement. There's a name, and all of a sudden my brain went dead. It's not a perfect neutral. You can still see some of the colors in there because it's not a complement to the burnt orange or the magenta, just to the yellow. So you see it's not a split complementary. I can't remember. What is it, Leonard? You're a colorist. I can't think of the name of it. It's not a perfect complement.
Put him on the spot.
I know, I like to. I like it. It's not a perfect complement. It's just neutral here and there, and I like that. It just plays hide and go seek. All right, so I'm just going to go So a little more of this in. So when you put it on just a yellow area, it turns very gray. But and then it's violet down here where there's a little bit more magenta, you see. So whatever you call that. You're paying me big bucks to know that word, and I cannot think of it all of a sudden. All right, so this is how I'm gonna, do the rest of this painting over and over. But I like to work with acrylic on this because this is such a powerful component, and towards the end, I don't want it to be more important than the hands. So that's the trick. So the subject matter and what I'm painting here, important, and I must not forget that. And sometimes I do a really good job of hiding them. It's like you can't really see anything in the journey. And my mom's here, you only see it bits and pieces, and that's the way I like it. But every once in a while, this could get very powerful. So if I have acrylic, I can go over that. All right. So see what I'm doing, Judy?
Mm-hmm.
I'm painting upside down. Judy has worked with me most recently, and I always make my students work upside down. Karen knows that. Where's Karen?
Right here in the
Yep, in the front, right in the front. Okay, so in the background, I'm going to put a mixture. I never mix. I mix on my page. You'll get the best neutrals in the world if you don't pre-mix them. There is no such thing as black and gray. It's a combination of all the colors being reflected whenever you see a shadow. It's never, God didn't go and squeeze out a tube of Payne's Gray and put that down. No, it's reflected light and all the colors that are around it, so it's a different mixture depending on where you are. So to get that naturally, this works. I'm not sure how it wouldn't work with if I was using it opaquely. Okay, it's too small brush. You gotta work quick. As long as it's shiny and wet, or it's wet. And this is just quinacridone burnt orange, which is also going to create a color harmony with what's going on here. Basically, in my paintings, I have just 3 different colors, and they all connect to give harmony. Every once in a while, you'll see more. That's a big change from the old days, right, Carol? Doesn't mean my paintings are still bright, but it's good to do that. I'm going to put a little bit of cobalt blue for some opacity. Cobalt is always going to be an opaque color. You see that? Dropping it in. I'm dropping it in, not overbrushing it. It's a perfect place to do that in the background. And then I'll get opaque later. But I have choices if I want to keep it that way. And now I'm just taking a wet brush with clean water and kind of moving it around. I could do that all day long and nothing else. I don't know why. That's why I paint watercolor. I'm going to drop just a little bit of the ultramarine violet, but it doesn't like to play well with the others. It's kind of a opaque color, so it doesn't, but it looks really pretty with burnt orange. And then when that dries, I'll go in and get super opaque.
Can you say something about how you got that image onto your board? Did you trace it or did you draw it? And this, I think I'm familiar with that. Is that Rapid software?
What's that?
Where you get a large image?
No, I do Photoshop. So if you notice, I tile them. I call them tiling. I don't have a word for it because I invented it myself, but it's probably not original. Other people probably do it. But I've got Photoshop, and I can do it to size, and I do them at 12 by 12, and then I crop them. I don't know how to explain it verbally, but I do it in Photoshop, and then I cut these out individual. So there's basically 4 pieces. There's this big one that's 8.5 by 11, and I've got an oversized printer, and I don't know how to work it now. It got all it messed up. It's smarter than me. I'm looking at Judy because she had it one, and that's why I got it. That does just for that, so I don't have to do this anymore.
There's a software, right, Jean?
Oh, the
Soft-
rapid resizer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rapid resizer or something.
Well, this is, I mean, to run them through your printer, you have to have an 8.5 by 11.
Yeah, I used to use them in textiles when I did huge rugs.
Oh yeah,
That's how I
you
started,
have to
so-
tile.
Yeah, and I got the tiles, and I still use it for a few things.
So that software tiles.
Yeah, it gives me tiles, and it's a first draft. And you put the tiles together, you get the first draft.
I'm so used to doing it in Photoshop that I don't know if it would be quicker to do it your way or not. But I'm doing that.
Yeah.
I'm doing that. I got a system worked out, and I can't finish the sentence because it's too hard to say verbally. But how do you spell that?
Rapid, R-A-P-I-D, Rapid Sizer.
Yeah, R-E-S-I-Z-E-R.
Let's say it
It's
again.
got a rapid resizer, and it's like about $59 a year for a subscription.
Wow.
Does it work on Windows or is it also Apple?
I don't know if it works on Apple. I know it works on Windows. because
Yeah,
I know
it
Windows.
works on Apple.
Yeah, it does. Because Rosie,
Well, the things you learn. I didn't know that. I probably won't get it just because I'm Brent and Creative Suite. Have you ever worked in that?
No,
Huh?
never have.
Yeah.
It's-
Anyway, sometimes I draw them on, straight on. I don't, but I like to have the images the same size if I can. It's nice because you got to be able to see. And I didn't talk a lot about the drawing part, but drawing, your painting is only as good. I'd be getting lost right now if I didn't have a good reference photo next to me or have it in front of me, whichever. And if I didn't have a good drawing. You take your time with your drawings. Just raise your hand. I want to see how many people are going to be truthful. Want to jump right to the painting and don't want to mess with the drawing. Go on.
Sometimes.
Yeah. I do every time. I'm thinking it, but I know not to because you're,
Depends on how creative you want to make it.
yeah. And there are great paintings you don't have to, but they still start in a solid shape that is, like even if you work out of chaos, like Karen Benedetti would do the reverse. She'd work on just start and then throwing things in, but she would have a shape that would be, it was abstract, but it still had a focal point. You still have some of the same issues. But yeah, it is fun to just start working out of chaos. One of these days I'm going to do that because it's a different mindset. So anyway, the other thing I'm going to tell you is don't paint something you haven't met. It's not a good idea. Occasionally you have to, but you paint something you haven't met. How are you supposed to describe that? You've never met. And we do that a lot, especially when we're first starting out. Doesn't mean you can't, but it's not a recipe for success. Not to mention it's not as personal. There's something that happens when there's a personal painting, that you've personally feel something about it, or you've met it, or you've seen it. And, flowers are a good example. You get lost in a reference photo. You can go to the stock photos, they have online. And I did some of that when I first started out painting, but I realized real quick that they weren't the same caliber as the ones that I took the photo. I met the subject. I met that. I was there. And so while I'm painting this, a photograph doesn't do it justice. I saw all those colors and they're coming back to me. Why? Because I paid attention. Goes back to that word, right? And I knew it was a moment. And I took that photo because I was recognizing it. And, but I remember that there was this, the color of the skin was reflected up in here. I saw it. So you have to really look at it. You can't just glance. You got to look. And I don't know how much more I need to paint on this. How am I doing on my time? I can't hear. Somebody said something. What time is it? What time am I supposed
Oh,
to?
it's 10 to 8
It's
is what it is.
7:45.
I thought
What time am I supposed to stop? I don't know. You just want me to keep painting, don't you?
Nobody's in charge.
What's her name? Gifford is the last name, but I think
Connie.
Connie. I started to say Kathy. Yeah.
Paint about 5 more minutes if you can, and then we have to be out of here at a certain time. So
Okay. I'm told you gotta keep up with me.
that's what we were watching. So
Well, I know.
we're artists too, so you
I know. But then we'll get in trouble.
11:30 tonight, we're like, oh, it's dark.
Anyway. Anyway, so what I want to talk to you is about, okay, so this, do I need to turn it this way or the other? Is this right side up to your eye?
No.
Okay. I don't know why I always doubt myself. The trick is you just keep putting layers on. I wanted to show you a couple little really cool things. And I'll do it on one of these pieces because this is precious. It's starting to be precious to me. But I want
Did
you
you
to,
say, Trish, that your cards will lift off of there pretty easy?
that's what I'm getting ready to show you.
Okay.
That's a good segue. Thank you. Yeah, it's hard to get to it. Just give me that right there. All right. Did I mess it? Didn't mean to. I was holding it steady.
Very careful.
I know. Since I've been working on the farm, I went from not being able to carry a 5-gallon bucket out to the cattle to feed them.
How many head you have now?
We don't have, we got, they went bye-bye. That's all I'm going to say. Well, it's what happens. I grew up on a cattle farm. You can't get attached. But I had them for a few months, and I was feeding them, and they gave me, everybody kept saying, you're doing that all by yourself? And I thought, there was only 4 head at the time. We had as many as 6. What I was going to say is when Todd left and I started taking care of things like that, I would take one of those carts, and then I got to where I would carry 1 5-gallon bucket. So you put the feed in that, and then we fed them in a trough away from the barn because it got to be too muddy. Long story. So I had to walk clear across that backyard, and I couldn't even carry the stupid bucket. And
You gotta be careful carrying 5-gallon buckets.
well, guess what? The second week, I'm walking along, and I have 2 of them in my arms and before I even realized what I was doing. And then I talked to my wiener dog. I love her. Todd left me his wiener dog. He did. He must love me. But I talked to her, Winnie, the wonderful.
Where is Todd now? Is he still local or what?
Yeah, we'll talk about that offside.
Okay.
Over
But-
dinner.
Yeah, or dinner,
Leonard.
which you're paying for. No, anyway, so what I was saying is, I'm going like this, and I look over at Winnie, and I said, look what I'm doing! So, all right.
And the chickens, how many chickens?
I had 20.
Wow.
I don't want to talk about the had. The raccoons got them one night. I don't want to talk about it. But I have 17 now. They're a lot of fun. And we have 2 ducks that are stupid as the day is long. I've never seen them more stupid. They can't even.
They're beautiful though.
They're beautiful. That's why they're not dead or anything. I didn't get rid of them. But they drive me nuts. But they were Todd's that the kids got them. Now I'm taking care of them. But I call them Mr. and Mrs. Potter. They're like an old married couple. To watch them, they're funny. This is the joys I have. Okay, so this is rubbing alcohol. I don't recommend using like your good watercolor brushes, okay? You can go back in, this is acrylic, and some of it's been painted pretty thick. And you can lift up. And, you know, and then if you can't lift up, there's always what, Rosie?
Oh, I think it's called gesso.
Did you put matte medium on it first though, didn't you?
This is a matte, same type of surface. That's why I thought I'd show you. This is not nearly done, but I do want to show you a little bit about how dark to get, how dark I'll get on that. I have it off, but I can still hear the vibrating. So with fluid, it's difficult to get super opaque, but on the first, but you have to layer it. It'll look really, if you do a little bit of water here and there when you have an opaque passage, like it connects a little bit better. It doesn't have to be, but right now, do you see that's a black, like it's not going to work. I mean, I'm going to do it more places, but if I go in here with this and I push in a little bit of the color that's already in there, which is not pulled out. Nope, there it is. And pull her in that, it'll connect. But that's how you pop. That's how you get the showpiece. And anthracnone blue is a beautiful navy blue. It's a slight bit of neutral added to it, just enough, but it still retains a lovely navy blue color. So I like it a little bit better than indigo, but Rosie made me a lover of indigo. I never thought I would like it.
Really?
Mm-hmm. I do like it. I don't have it on my palette.
You said to never use it.
I don't use it. I just said she made me a love of it.
That was
But she
15 years ago.
No, I've changed a little bit, but no, I do not have it on my palette.
But she loves it.
But I like it in a painting. I enjoy the look of it. And but it's a very I would never suggest using it if you're just starting out, because it's still the same on that, because you got to control it. So this is a nice substitute. This is like my My Marie days. Violet blue it? No, shoot. I almost had the name. It was the navy blue for that. It's the same color. What was that color? Oh, Carol, you forgot. Karen, you remember colors. Violet bluish. Oh shoot. It's in My Marie. That used to be my watercolor of choice. And it has a navy blue. All of a sudden I can't remember. My Marie colors are very oddly named. They almost as bad as, and I like My Marie blue colors. And I worked on those, and I still have my palette. It just so here's what I wanted to talk to you about. So on here, I didn't get my stencils out at all, but it's fun to get and do this. I need to hurry because you guys are wanting to gotta wrap it up. I'll just take whatever I see here and use that. Okay, you can do this with stencils, and I won't have to demo too much. These always get hung up on each other. But you can use this, and I've done a little bit of it. When you work with watercolor, it comes up a little bit easier, but it's pretty much the same. It does the same thing with acrylic. So I like the spray bottles. I took the label off, but you can get those at Kroger's. I think they're back in stock again. Good golly. That's the first thing I thought of with COVID. Do you believe that? I can't get rubbing alcohol for my techniques. Oh my gosh. Not toilet paper. I use rubbing alcohol for a number of things. They're nice for cleanup. They take all the junk off your hands. And, you know, if you're a mixed media artist, I got to do it somewhere really dark where you can see it. I'll do it down in here. This is a wisteria vine that is on my front porch. There's this. What's that?